Tonight our honeymoons finally come to an end, and next week we should be heading back to San Diego and seeing our couples move in together for the first time. How about that dinner scene close to the end of our episode? It really felt like we had a lot of people trying to stir the pot. I think we saw Stacia take a little shot at Miguel. Justin was kind of poking at the and other people poking at the Morgan and Binh situation. And then somehow Krysten and Mitch had faded into the background, and right when Lindy and Miguel were really on the hot seat, a mariachi band just rolls in and saves the day. As always, everybody, we're going to go through a couple by couple, and one couple that I thought we'd be talking about at the end of our recaps for most of the season is Morgan and Binh, and somehow I feel like they are the headline couple of the week. Binh, first off, you can't ask somebody when they're gonna fall in love with you. That is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I understand that that's something you're wondering about, but no one's just gonna be like, oh yes, Binh, thanks for asking. It's gonna take me 3.5 weeks to fall in love with you. I hope that we can have your patience and understanding in this situation. No, not how it works. And then we went from there to Morgan talking about how words have hurt her in the past, and like really that moment felt like foreshadowing for some of the stuff that we saw in the preview. Now we still have, I think, one big fight between them that we haven't seen, but most of their other preview stuff, I believe we got through all of it in this episode, which is a little bit concerning because if we, like the other couples, I feel like from the previews we have shots of them further down the line, but Morgan and Binh, I don't feel like we do, which I'm just going to throw out there the possibility that they don't make it all the way to the end of the season. Now, it is a little bizarre to have a situation like we had last season with Chris and the lady who I don't really care about anymore. But it is more common to have couples kind of go their separate ways before decision day, just to come back on decision day as a formality. I think one that sticks out to me is Mindy and Zach from a few seasons ago. You know, Zach checked out pretty early there, and Mindy was kind of just left on her own. But I think it's a possibility that that is what happens to Morgan and Binh. And one of the big reasons is sort of the fight and issues that arose today. You know, Binh doesn't seem good with Morgan's family and financial situation. It seemed like those were two things that he had asked for. You know, someone who had come from basically a happy, loving family and had their financial situation in order. So he brings up that concern, and then we transition from that into this weird situation where Binh thought Morgan lied about her education because she still has one course left for her bachelor's, when in reality she has one course left on her education upgrade, and Binh just didn't connect the dots on that. Ends up going behind Morgan's back, talks to Justin, and kind of spills the beans on the situation. But I really felt like there was a lot of layers going on here, and the first question I have to ask was, why was this secret so important to Morgan that for him to keep. Like, this doesn't seem like a secret that if you let slip, you know, the relationship is going to take a turn for the worse. Like, the secret was that she has one course left on her degree. Like that shouldn't be forbidden knowledge. That should just be something that is openly talked about, that Morgan feels comfortable about talking about. Like, yeah, whatever, she's got one course left on her degree. She's been working as a nurse. The only reason that it becomes a situation where it needs to be a secret is if Morgan needs that course to be qualified for the job that she's currently doing. And to me, that raises some issues about what, like, is that the case? Has Morgan been doing things at work that she's not supposed to? Has she misrepresented herself to her employer? And meanwhile, you have all the trust issues that are now forming between Binh and Morgan, because Binh, you know, went and talked about something that he said he promised not to behind her back, and then subsequently Justin went to Alexis. Just a very intricate situation that really, from an outsider looking in, looked very unnecessary to me. Like, I totally understand them having issues with the family and financial stuff, but not the one course left in university. Binh, you know, very quickly seems to have realized his mistake and has apologized and asked for forgiveness, but you know, really didn't feel like Morgan took any degree of reflection in the situation, that it was all me, her. And then we saw that amplified again when we got into the group dinner date, when Morgan started talking, and it was once again all me, and no, like basically saying, well, what's Binh gonna do for me? And then that was the point that I think we had Justin kind of interject with, like, well, what are you gonna do for Binh? Like, there's two sides to this relationship. It's not just you. And I really got the impression that Morgan was talking, you know, quite aggressively, and it really didn't seem like it made Binh very comfortable. And on the heels of what had happened earlier, just doesn't bode well for this couple. You know, we've talked about how bad the matchmaking is, but if somebody has some, you know, some requests like, hey, I want somebody who's financially stable and is basically looking to retire early. You know, that might be hard to match perfectly, but you could at least get somebody more in tune for what Binh was asking for, and vice versa. If that's not something that was important to Morgan, that she just wanted somebody who could basically cover their own bills, then don't match those two together. If Binh is looking for somebody who comes from a big loving family, don't match him with somebody who comes from a broken family. Like, this is like dating 101, where you have these issues, you have these concerns, and you'd either filter those things out on the dating apps or on your first or second date. You wouldn't just be stuck with that person for the next 8 weeks. And really, the way things stand right now, I just don't see this ending well for Morgan and Binh. I rambled a little bit too long there, so let's jump over to our next couple, Alexis and Justin. Justin had me cracking up with the tossing the tequila shots over his shoulder. I thought that this overall was just a really good episode for Alexis and Justin. They've been, for me, the surprise couple of the season. You know, they're right out of the gate. They're the couple I want to root for. They're the couple I want to see succeed. And I don't think I can say that for any of these other couples. Alexis doesn't seem as comfortable with Justin being sensitive as he thinks she is. You know, not to say that they're on a totally different page on this topic, but you can, like, especially in the when Justin's removed from the situation, it feels like Alexis has some reservations with being with a very sensitive man. And we'll have to see if that ends up being an issue moving forward. We saw them sitting on a boat, just trying to start to talk about their finances, but obviously the universe did not want them to have that conversation, because all of a sudden that boat was trying to kill them, and Justin definitely saved the day, saved a potential trip to the hospital by somehow stopping that boat after it had half flipped over. Very clear that Justin really appreciated hearing that Alexis was going to do everything she can to support him. When at that dinner, somebody was trying to stir the pot with them, asking how she was going to support him. And, you know, basically she said she's going to do everything she can for him, and you really see his heart melt. And then in that same conversation, we saw Alexis, maybe it was a slip, maybe it wasn't, but dropped a little "I love you" casually in the conversation. And then later that night, back in the hotel room, you can see that Justin was still really torn up about the Binh situation, that, you know, sees a lot of Binh in himself, that out of all the guys on the honeymoon, on the bachelor party, on the season, he was the one who wanted marriage the most, that he was the one who was going to give his all to the relationship, and then to see him kind of, I don't even know, stepped on a little bit by Morgan, you know, kind of pushed aside a little bit by Morgan, was really torn up. But after that, we got a very, very cute exchange between Alexis and Justin, as they really both say "I love you" to each other in exchange for the first time. All right, enough about them. Let's jump over to Lindy and Miguel. Not the couple that I had pegged as the first two to have sex with each other. I really did not see that coming. You know, we had talked about it last week, how Miguel wanted to have sex and Lindy wanted to wait until they had a deeper connection, start this episode, and bam, they have had sex. They are the first to consummate their marriage this season. At that same little girls' date, we saw Lindy, or no, this was a different girls' date, but whatever. It was just a couple girls getting together. We saw Lindy questioning Nate, questioning Nate's authenticity, and that was really unexpected for me, because I feel like Lindy has been someone up to this point that has really yielded to other people and their feelings and what they want to do in any given situation. You know, been really respectful for how people are feeling and how her actions are going to make those people feel. But still, she brought up to Stacia that she was questioning just how authentic Nate is, and honestly, you know, all of us watching have been doing the same. Miguel, he mentions that he views the experience as 2 months, as 8 weeks process, and then he'd make his decision at the end. Lindy was not very happy about that, and point blank says that she wants a partner for life, doesn't want a partner for 8 weeks. And then we see Lindy immediately bring it up in front of the entire group. And, you know, Miguel probably shouldn't be saying that he's unsure of their relationship to the entire group. There's probably a better way to have that conversation, you know, whether it's just saying like, hey, we're still learning, we're still feeling this out, all of us here, we don't know if this is going to work out. Said he was just kind of straight to the point that he was unsure about things. And through this conversation and other people at the table kind of coming after Miguel, Lindy seemed to get pretty protective of her relationship, and all of a sudden, you know, her attitude had changed. At the start of that dinner, she looked very cold and distant from Miguel, and by the very end, you know, they're sneaking some kisses, whispering in each other's ears. It was like she almost had that like mama bear instinct of somebody that she cares about. People are coming after, and she was not here for it, and immediately in his corner, backing him up. At the end of the episode, we saw Lindy start to spiral a little bit. And, you know, this is something we've seen before, like in the pajama incident. And this time, it was about how she spends her days off back home, and, you know, going on and on about how she's going to do all these things and doesn't want Miguel to interfere. And it was great to see Miguel be supportive to Lindy. And you could see as soon as she was given that love and support, her levels came right down. She was immediately calm, and we had said that before, that she really needs that love and support. And when she got it there in that moment from Miguel, you know, everything just comes back into focus for Lindy. Next up, let's jump over to Kristin and Mitch. You know, there's barely anything for us to say this week. Like, they were barely on this episode. The biggest moment was really Kristin talking to the other girls. I thought that it was going to be a much more awkward conversation than it was, but I have no idea how she can be so loving and so supportive to a man who basically said that he's not attracted to her, and then got drunk and tried to sleep with her. And she, to the point where she doesn't even want other people talking bad about Mitch. Honestly, I think I barely talked for like 30 seconds. I think that was longer than Kristin and Mitch were on the screen this episode. But anyways, let's move on. Last couple of the week, Stacia and Nate. Back to the dinner when, or no, not to the dinner, pardon me, when the guys were all sitting around with each other, and Nate was kind of, you know, pushing the conversation around if everyone has had sex yet. And, you know, Miguel basically saying like, hey, you know, we both we're feeling it, we had sex. And Nate, who's a person who seems like they've been sleeping around their entire lives, he can't separate, you know, the things he did in the past with his current situation, and using that whole, you know, we need to wait until we're more connected. We need to wait until we're emotionally invested, because, you know, for his whole life he's associated with sleeping with someone, with leaving them. So that is, I think, a lot of that different viewpoint of, you know, holding back from having sex, or, you know, it feels right just having sex. Stacia suggests that they go to therapy, and it really seemed like Nate was going to be resistant for a moment, but it was almost like a perfect replica of the post-nup conversation where he seemed like he was going to be resistant, and then immediately would just totally agreed. After that whole conversation, I had a thought to myself that if we hadn't had the whole stripper situation on the bachelor party, would we view Nate entirely differently at this point? Like, that for me is the catalyst of my opinions and my thoughts about who he is. And since he's been with Stacia, we really haven't seen that much of that guy from that night. And, you know, still questioning which is the real Nate, which is the authentic Nate. But, you know, if he continues on this path of supporting Stacia and maybe steering away from all the Instagram stuff, that we like, maybe that is the real Nate, but we will have to wait and see. Nate did say that he's starting to fall in love with Stacia, and you know, Stacia still kind of has that guard up, and doesn't want to really give in until she knows exactly what she's getting out of Nate. All right, everybody, that is going to wrap things up for this week. As always, thank you so much for watching, everybody, and until next week, we'll see you later.